Usually if you're stuck in a situation like this where you're kind of like a rat in a corner, it's not a bad idea just to try and coordinate with your team some type of structure to maybe get you out of there using maybe the support helicopter or some type of vehicle, or maybe lay down some offensive fire so you can progress further. Because being that bomb carrier, like I said, it's very difficult if your team is not very coordinated or doesn't know how to use certain vehicles or provide transportation. As you can see right now in the video, I'm actually flying the Z9 Highton because I do believe that we're having a lack of transportation on the team right now, so I decided to switch my role a little bit and fly around and to cause maybe a bit of diversion. But as far as the way this helicopter performs, it's just like the UH-1Y Venom, so it's definitely a support chopper. It's meant to go through there and you know, drop people off, pick people up. And the cool thing about those helicopters is that they're not totally defenseless either if you have teammates on each of the gunners on the side. You can sit there and cause some major havoc for infantry-based enemies. If you notice in the video, that's actually one of the elevators on a separate building. What this elevator takes you to is when you go in it, you go down to the actual store lobby area of the building, and it kind of pulls you out into the either you can go towards the center building on the right side of the elevator, or you can go towards the B flag at the metro station there. Even though this is the Obliteration game mode, I'm just going to take a few moments here and actually describe the large conquest flag areas. Of course, you have a grand total of 5 flags, A, B, C,
Like
D,
everyone says
and
that.
E, and I'm just going to describe each area accordingly. Starting off with Flag A, this is essentially a residential area. The flag is actually located on the second story of the two-story parking garage. So it's actually located between two apartment buildings. Um, of course, getting to the top floor, it does have a few ways of being accessed. You can either go up the vehicle ramp with either a tank or, on foot, or to the northeast and, northwest and southwest corners. There are a couple doorways that you can actually go up a flight of stairs to get to the second story of the residential area parking lot to capture the flag. As far as Flag B goes, this is actually a partially constructed metro station. You'll notice that there are a few caution tapes in the area saying it's under construction, but there are quite a few entrances. And in this area, there's actually a destructible monument where the flag is located at, and it can provide some cover for the first few initial attacks, but eventually it will chip away and not be fully usable. Also, there is a pillar down there that can be destroyed, collapsing, the road right above it, which a lot of you've seen in the E3 video for the Battlefield 4 premiere. So, doesn't seem to be anything new there, but it's always still fun to do for yourself if you're wanting to create a different area of, exiting or entering, the metro flag. Next flag area is C area, and this is the skyscraper. Of course, this one is the definitive, the eye catcher that everyone seemed to really enjoy in the E3 video. Of course, in this skyscraper, the flag is actually located at the very top of the skyscraper if it is still erect. Of course, there are 4 pillars on each side of the skyscraper that you would actually have to destroy, right down at its base, in order for the skyscraper to fall. Once the skyscraper falls, however, the flag is actually located at the ground level amidst the rubble of the building collapsing. The next flag area, Flag D, is known as the arcade. It's actually located on the first floor of an arcade alley, and of course you'll see in there a car dealership that also has window shutters that actually close down and close off the actual dealership, preventing enemies from getting in through the windows or through the front door or anything like that. But it's not enough cover for it to not be destroyed, so enemies can use simply like a grenade launcher or a rocket to blow through those shutters. Not to mention, there is also an elevator for you to get on the top story of the arcade building, so you can actually look down through the windows there and kind of defend it from up above as well. And last but not least, the Flag Point E, which is actually a kind of open bar restaurant type area. Probably the least interesting out of all the areas in Siege of Shanghai. But the thing is, I can see where it can get really hectic on like 64-player man games because of it being towards the water. A lot of people can come through there and assault on, you know, with an assault boat and just start taking out people inside the restaurant itself. So it's still a good area though to capture because there is a main battle tank that spawns there for the team that's closest to the E restaurant, which I believe is the U.S. side. Yeah, it's U.S. So, just keep that in mind. Once you capture that area, another tank becomes available to you for assault. Another thing that I wanted to stress is you'll notice that the pistol I'm using actually has a tactical light. That is actually an attachment for that pistol now. The cool thing in Battlefield 4 is the secondary sidearms that you get, mainly being the pistols, you actually have separate attachments for those that you can equip now as well, instead of being like in Battlefield 3 where you just had pistols that already came pre-equipped that with things that you just unlocked once you reached a certain level. Here, it's once you use the pistol and reach a certain amount of points with it, you unlock an additional feature or additional gadget for that pistol, like a red iron sight or a green laser pointer or a tactical light. Just a bunch of different things that you can actually unlock for the individual pistols now, and doing it that way versus having a separately new gun to unlock with an attachment. It's a lot better to have it that way, and I think DICE made a good move doing it that way. Flying in the helicopters in Battlefield 4 do seem to be a little bit easier in comparison to previous Battlefield games that have been played throughout the years, so it still has that ease of access like it did in Battlefield 3, if not a little bit better. So flying and managing things, as far as being able to stay level or make sharp turns or anything like that with the helicopters, it's still a very doable process, even for the intermediate player. The nice thing about Siege of Shanghai, though, is because of it being a city environment. A lot of the things with Battlefield 3, like I said before, is there was too much open area, and when you got in, air battles, it was almost like, okay, let's stay as far apart from each other as possible and try and make accurate shots at a distance, or launch guided rockets at each other from a distance, and then go on our merry way and destroy everybody. Well, the nice thing in Siege of Shanghai is you have enough closed off cover from all the buildings that you can fly in between them, and there's enough space for you to do that too with the helicopters without you feeling like too cramped or closed in. So, I think it's just really neat because if you use flares and then all of a sudden you're out, well, just simply fly right behind a building and let a rocket hit into it. Or, you want the element of surprise, just still fly in and out of those buildings and, attack people. It's a good feature. It makes it feel like you can gain the advantage quite easily and escape from scenarios a lot easier than you were able to in Battlefield 3 when you were a helicopter. The other thing I really liked about Obliteration mode in Battlefield 4 is you actually had parachuting spawn points. So the cool thing is that when you parachuted in, it was actually towards the skyscraper, and you could either land on the lower portion of the skyscraper awning, like you seen at the initial beginning of this video, as well as being able to have the higher ground advantage and to have a good field of view of what's going on before you're put into the thick of it. So I think that's actually cool to be able to have that option as a spawn option as well. Another really awesome thing in Battlefield 4 is, of course, now you can actually pick your spawn points just by clicking them, rather than having it like in Battlefield 3 where you kind of just knew where A, B, C, and D flag points were and just clicked on the little list there of what flag point you want to spawn at. Well, it's a little bit better and more interactive now, because in Battlefield 4, in the spawn menu and the loadout menu, you can actually just click on the actual visual map itself where you want to spawn. So it makes it a lot easier to do that rather than having the listed menu, because I know a lot of people would first load into a game in Battlefield 3, for those that never played it, and were just like, okay, well, how do I spawn where I want to spawn? Or like, I didn't even know I could spawn where I wanted to go. So it's kind of cool to have it this way, because it engages the player a little bit more to pick where they go and to reassure themselves that they are going where they selected. Of course, you see me in the secondary gunner seat for the support chopper. The field of view, or the field of movable view for the gunner, is actually quite nice. It seems to be a little bit over 180 degrees for its range of view. So you'll be able to fire, quite at a decent amount of range there. I'm just actually going to separate for a second and start talking about demolition and their flag points. Essentially, the demolition flag points, it's kind of like a smaller scale conquest, but instead of having different spawn points you can select, it's random spawn points, okay? And there's only a grand total of 3 flags, A, B, and C. Now, for Siege of Shanghai, the A flag is essentially the storefront. It's just an outside point where it seems to be a little bit more cramped than its conquest counterpart, but it's the storefront where the M82A3 CQB is located. Of course, there it has many containers and barricades within it, so you can hide and have a decent amount of cover. And there's also an elevator, like I said before, it leads to the roof of that building, so you can, assault people from the top of that building as well. The B flag is actually the wreckage area. It's actually located in an open street intersection just outside of the arcade area. There are many containers and vehicles there that are burning. People can still shoot through, of course, the fire, but it makes it very hard for them to be able to see you through it. So it does provide a decent amount of cover for you to attempt to capture that area. And lastly, the C flag, which is the actual arcade area. It's mostly the same as its conquest and obliteration counterpart. There's really not much difference here. You can also take the elevator there to reach the top roof of the arcade. So there's really not much, but the flag is actually located in the center portion of that building. For those of you that haven't played the Battlefield 4 open beta yet, or closed beta, or anything in general, as far as the way the game performs and functions, it seems to have, I know I mentioned this in the previous video and a lot of stuff I've mentioned before, but it does seem to have a mixed mechanic, but it feels a little bit more like Bad Company 2 with the graphics of Battlefield 3. And the more I play it, the more it does seem to be more mechanically sound as far as the way guns function and how certain things go. I mean, Battlefield 4, a lot of the gun firing and parachuting and everything seemed to be a little bit over dramatized, and it made it very difficult, especially when you jumped up and landed down on the ground and tried to shoot at somebody. It just made it very, very hard and very animated, for you to be able to maintain a very accurate shot. In Battlefield 4, it doesn't seem to be so stressed. It seems to be, I don't want to say more realistic, but less, toned down, so you can be able to pull off those cool or a little bit more accurate shots when you make a jump or land from a height in a parachute, or firing at somebody in a distance with a parachute. It just seems to be a little bit more reasonable with that. As far as the way the sniper rifle functions, it actually seems to be, like I said in the previous video that I first put out, a mix between Bad Company mechanics as far as the bullet velocity and the bullet drop, and Battlefield 3's like deviation mechanics. The cool thing is that it's more so in the favor of the way Bad Company functions, because there does seem to be a lot less apparency with the suppression when firing just a sniper rifle or any round. It doesn't seem like it has that much effect on you anymore, and you can still maintain accurate shots while being shot at, which is very nice. The other cool thing about the recon class is you actually get a chance against vehicles now by the means of having C4.